We need to find this place or we'll be late.
Make a left on Astrology Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant right. It should be right here. 444 Spearway. Oh, turn.
It looks like Renee. Yay, we're on time.
The James and Kellee Show.
Great, let's start the show.
Like a puppet at the end of that. It's like a puppet. I love your blonde hair. Just,
Happy Valentine's Day,
Kellee.
I know. Oh,
The flowers are from Kellee. Thank you, Kellee. That was so kind of you.
I was thinking about you all day, honey. I hope
Thank
you had a good day.
I did. I went to an acupuncturist. I'm very relaxed.
Great.
Yeah, I'm just yes, I'm kind of what else did I do? Yeah, I'm getting new eyeglasses. There you go. It's the optometrist today.
Perfect. Oh my gosh. And thank you for joining me on Saturday. We had a lovely event.
It was wonderful, the COVID effect. Can people no, they can't download it or anything.
No, it was a once and done thing. But thanks everybody who attended.
Yeah. Kelly's incredible when she does her
and
workshop.
you were wonderful, and it was just great. It was a super way to spend the Saturday. And then Sunday, LA Rams won the Super Bowl.
Did you watch the game?
I did. I didn't understand it, but I watched it.
I didn't watch it because I don't know football that well.
Me either.
I heard the game, the halftime show was good.
Yeah, it was different.
The rappers, some of my friends Wesley put on subtitles, closed caption, because they couldn't understand what they were saying.
That was smart.
They couldn't find any words. It was just
right.
I think what was her name was on this? Mary J. Blige.
She was amazing.
I met her at Ghost Whisperer. She was a guest star, and I went
did.
to her patient book, and at the time her husband, I think it was, she was a nice lady, Capricorn lady, very very nice. I really liked her. She made an impression. Really down to earth, cool lady.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So I was driving back tonight after I went out to the eye doctor, and it looked like a full moon, but it isn't a full moon, is it?
It's not quite a full moon, but it's going to be because this week is going to be a highly intense week for a couple of big reasons. The first thing is on Wednesday, on February 16th, we have a full moon in Leo. Now, a full moon in Leo Leo is all heart, and it means courage. And this particular full moon has not a good aspect to Pluto. So it's a rough aspect. It's an intense aspect. And Pluto is the underground, the underworld, the unconscious. And it also means it reveals the highest truth for you. So when you put the full moon in Leo, which is having an aspect to Pluto, it makes us to have courage about looking at ourselves, what we need to uncover. It gives us the courage to do it. And so there'll be some certain things in your life that are going to bring up a lot of emotions on Wednesday. So a full moon normally brings up emotions. This full moon brings a lot of emotions because you're really looking at maybe your deepest fears, even maybe your shadow side, something that you just wanted to push down forever. Well, this week things are going to come up for you.
Please for asking. I talk to things I get hit something, which who knows where they come from. But so would you say, like, say, a shadow side, but also aspects of that personality, parts of the personality that have been pushed down for many, many years, now it's come up to the surface to be looked at?
Yes, right? And absolutely. And Leo gives us the courage to either work on it, tell somebody what we need to say to them. It gives us the courage to go forth. And so anything that you've been dreaming about in life, and maybe you didn't have the courage to do it, now is the time to really look why you've held yourself back. Because as you said today on Soul Care, you don't want to go to the other side and say, I should have, I would have, I could have, but I didn't. And I didn't because I had fear. So this is a whole week of pushing yourself and making yourself available to the universe to do what you came to do.
And Kellee, it's also a part of what we talk about a lot in mediumship and living life. I mentioned it today on the show, is vulnerability. It's a matter now of surrendering to that and getting away from fear, but surrendering to the outcome. Whatever it's going to be will always be in God's hands, if you will. If you will, no one can be harmed per se. It's in the mind that creates all this stuff, But if we get to be vulnerable, we get to be stronger.
Absolutely. And as you're saying that, one of the things you can do during this full moon is to meditate. When people say, what do you do during a full moon? You meditate, and you really meditate on your vulnerabilities, James, or what it is that you need to work through or release, or something that's held you back. So what
I do, like this full moon, especially this full moon, I do a different meditation each time. But this one, for everybody that's watching this, a full moon meditation for this one in particular, which I'll be doing, moonbeams. So as I'm looking at the full moon, I bring moonbeams into any situation. I see the moonbeam illuminating whether it's dark or whatever this has, the behavior, a situation, whatever it is, a person, and light them up. Moonbeam. You'll be shocked to see what happens. So that's a good transformational meditation. Moonbeams.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
Moonbeams.
Oh my gosh. Well, the other aspect for this week, that'll be our buzzword for the week, moonbeams. So the other aspect of this week, which is of equal importance and a major deal here, are Venus and Mars are together, like holding hands. So at 1 degree, James, it's so on the exact degree in Capricorn. I don't know if this has ever happened. It's so intense and means so much for passion and romance. And if you're not involved with somebody, but you want to be in a relationship, this is going to be the time. And this lasts for about 8 weeks to 12 weeks. It lasts a long time. So let's say you are passionate about doing a new career. Think like that. This is the time to take action to do it. So, and especially with this Pluto aspect, if you really wanted to think about doing something in a spiritual aspect, but you really didn't know what to do, one of the course that you're selling right now, the course, James, the spiritual coaching, is perfect for that.
Soul Life certification course. Yeah, it's a really good one. Soul coaching.
It's perfect for this. If you've wanted to be a therapist, or if you wanted to do something in your life and you just didn't know the way to go about it, this is a great way to go about it. Actually, it's a great course that you have. I have a client. Well, I have a client that did your course. I think it was last year, and she's not only raving about the course, but she's doing an incredible business with it too. Well, it's really what her soul came to do.
It's just passing it forward. It's just bringing it to people and having them resonate with it and sharing with other people and using it in their practice, because there are really some basic fundamental things in that course that people can use every day for themselves and for their clients, no matter what kind of business you're really in. I mean, it really can work that way as well. Yeah.
That's so true. So this is a really powerful week. So set your intentions with this full moon. Set your intentions. It's a great time to review your life. And then with this Mars and Venus together, I mean, I predict lots of babies by the end of the year. Lots and lots and lots of babies of light, like the kind you won't believe there'll be so many that are coming out now. Yeah. This is a real powerful influence. But it can be used. This passion can be used for everything, like in your work. It can be used for everything.
And Venus, I mean, Capricorn is the taskmaster too, so it'll get things done. It's like go. One thing about the mountain goat, right? The mountain goat is and the mountain goat kind of stays steady in its feet, and then will leap to the highest when the time is right. Yeah. So now the time is right for that. I agree.
The time is right on this. I mean, what a huge week this is for a lot of. You'll see a lot of. It could be a lot of fighting too with Mars and Venus. I mean, male and female intense.
Oh, you see it today.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah. It's just people in their little worlds, and nothing sets them off. And it's like, wow.
Right. Well, and I know, and in Canada, there's some issues, and with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, this is a very powerfully intense month and powerful week.
Keep the moonbeams coming.
Moonbeams.
Moonbeams. To everybody. Love is our natural vibration. We got to remember that too. It's a natural
absolutely. Oh my gosh.
So tonight's show is very fun. We've been trying to do it for weeks, but things have put off.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Sorry, Edgar.
Sorry, Edgar.
And Kellee, I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if anyone else knows this, that I first started my understanding Edgar Cayce when I was before I was developing a mediumship. I had an interest, if you will. And I went to a place called the Bodhi Tree Bookstore, which in West Hollywood, which is no longer there. Yeah. And I spent weekends there sitting in different corners of the subjects, whether it was near-death experiences or past life regression or Edgar Cayce. I'm like, who's Edgar Cayce? So Edgar Cayce, and he had an association, the Association of Research and Enlightenment. And I read There was a river and several of books that he's done, and that's
That was his biography, right?
biography.
Yeah.
That's when I first found out about him, and that was my my cornerstone of my work when I started.
Wow. Wow. He's a really interesting fellow. He was born in
1900.
1877.
Really? Oh, wow.
1877. March 18th. And I'll tell you something interesting, James, because I was curious. Yeah, and a true Pisces in Vedic astrology or Western astrology, a true Pisces. But he was also because I always have to kind of do my work here. He was a five of diamonds, and five of diamonds always relates to angels. Always.
Really?
And always. If somebody tells me, if I find out there are five of diamonds in the destiny readings that I do, I know that angels are around them and they work with angels. And Edgar Cayce began his work when he first saw, he was about your age, I think, when you saw your first angel. How old were you? About 6?
Oh, yeah, about that. Yeah, 6 or 7. Yeah.
He saw a woman that came to him as an angel, and she started talking to him. And he did tell his family, and they were pretty good about it. And he grew up, in like
right. He was a minister.
He was a Christian for sure. I don't know which one it was, but
if I remember correctly.
It could be.
Oh, let me find out. No,
yeah. But he was from Kentucky.
Hopkinsville, right? Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky. And he started off as he would go to school as a young boy. And it turns out that when he was about 10, he wasn't a great student. But when he was about 10, he came home and the teacher said to his father, your son's not doing very well in school. And the father got so mad at the son, at Edgar, that he was what we would call abusive, and hit him off the table and off the chair and knocked him out. And it was just really, really horrible. And when he was after he'd been hurt by his father, he actually, a woman came to him, the same angel that he had seen when he was young. And she said, "Don't worry. We're going to help you. And here's what we're going to do. You just go to sleep on top of your schoolwork and all the books, and we will give you all the information." And so then his father came in, and his father was mad that he was sleeping. And he said, "But I know the answers." And he said, "Oh, really? Yes, what?" And then he gave every single answer. And this went on for the rest of his schooling. He only went to school till 8th grade, but he knew everything that he needed to know, because he was told if he would sleep on the books or the information, it would come to him. And that's how he began his journey.
And just to go back a little bit, when he was a young boy, he worked at his father's dry goods store. And I think when he was a young boy, from what I gathered, he always tried to please his father. Always, well, Pisces, of course, they want to be friendly. And he was very sentimental, and he wanted to please his dad. I know that he wanted to please his dad, but I don't think dad knew that. I don't think dad understood that.
No, I don't think so.
He was also a photographer. He took up photography for a while.
When he was about 20, he became a photographer. Yeah. And that's how he was making his living. Yeah. And do you know why? He said, because I didn't have to speak, so he could see. Because one of the things that happened to him right before then.
I was just imagine.
Go ahead. No, you tell. You go ahead. You tell.
The laryngitis, right?
Well, he had laryngitis,
right.
And so he went into a trance state, basically, or not a. What would you call that kind of a state?
An altered state of consciousness.
Altered state, and he actually told his parents, I think, or who were taking care of him at the time, how to heal himself in a trance state.
That's right. I've heard that. Yes.
I mean,
I read about that years ago.
And he didn't speak, by the way, for 8 months.
That's right. He lost his voice. Correct. Correct. It's so Piscean, though, isn't it?
Well, and it's also so, as a medium, what happens so often to people, they often take, some weird circuitous route to get to become a medium. It's the damnedest thing ever.
It's very true. I mean, I understand that one. I know
Me
that.
too.
I read this about Cayce also just today, which I was looking at, but I didn't know this before. That he was living in that town, Hopkinsville, and that I guess there was an entertainer coming to town at the vaudeville or whatever the theater, who was a hypnotist, and he wanted to see Edgar because he heard Edgar was ill. So here it is right here. His name was Hart, and he was entertaining at the Hopkinsville Opera House in 1901. Heard that Edgar Cayce was sick and asked if he could try to cure him. Cayce said yes. The entertainer tried to cure Cayce in front of an audience. Cayce was able to talk while in a hypnotic trance, but when he woke up, he could not talk. Hart hypnotized Cayce so that his voice would be normal after the trance, but Casey's voice did not become normal. Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
First days
Wow.
of hypnosis, too, if you think about it. It goes back
Yes.
the beginning days of it, early pioneer days.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
There was another Al Lane, another hypnotist, tried to help Cayce have a normal voice. Lane asked Cayce to tell him the cause of the illness and its cure while in a trance. Cayce described what you were talking about. Cayce described his illness from a first-person plural point of view instead of the singular I. In later readings, he would usually start off with, "We have the body in the reading." Cayce said his voice loss was because of the psychological paralysis, and that could be fixed by increasing the blood flow to the voice box. Lang suggested that the blood flow would be increased, and Cayce's face turned red with blood, and his chest turned bright red after 20 minutes. Cayce, still in a trance, said the treatment was over. When he woke up, his voice stayed normal. He would get sick again, but it was cured by Lang in the same way, and later he was cured perfectly. Wild.
That's amazing. Really amazing. I mean, his abilities were just
staggering.
Staggering. Yeah, really. It's amazing to me. Wow.
Yeah, he. I'm going to read this too about his fame. He grew up in his fame grew as he grew up. He asked for people to give him money to support himself and his family. So that I remember this from a biography when I read, so that he could work full time. He continued to work in a trance state with the hypnotist all his life. His wife and oldest son later replaced Lane in this role. A secretary who's God bless Gladys Davis took notes. Many believe that Cayce had an affair with Miss Davis. I didn't hear that before later in his life. But a medical examination conducted after Cayce's death to treat Davis's uterine cancer allegedly showed that she was still a virgin at the time. Interesting.
Fun fact.
And in 1929, he created the Cayce Hospital, created Virginia Beach. I think he started that with, wasn't it for asthma and polio or something?
And well, it was to help with homeopathic remedies, because he was getting into homeopathic remedies, and all these people in all these towns had no place to go for homeopathy. And so he actually opened up a hospital with 2 investors, and it was apparently running really well for 2 years. And then after 2 years, the investors couldn't afford to keep it anymore. And so he had to stop, and he was very sad about that. But that's when he moved into his readings.
Yeah, and I got to read something on this because it's pretty amazing here. He became famous in the United States in 1943 because an article in the Coronet magazine increased his readings to 8 times a day. Now, this is for all those mediums out there, people doing readings for people and healings. To try to keep up this caused problems with his health. To try to keep 8 a day, because that's going to that trance state, that altered state, takes a lot of exhaustion in the physical body. You have problems. The trance reading caused problems with Cayce's health, which was easily seen. On the times when he could not give a clear reading, he said it was because he was working under too great a pressure. In these cases, he always gave the money back to the person he was giving a reading to. And he predicted his own death 4 days before he died. Yeah. In January 3rd, 1945. Yeah.
Wow. And he did over 14,000 readings.
14,000. Yes.
It's amazing.
Gladys wrote them all down. Have you ever been to ARE down in Virginia Beach?
No, I haven't, but I know you have. So tell everybody all about it.
It's it's a pretty amazing story, actually. Now that back at it's pretty incredible. It's one of those stories of your life. You're like, wow, that's a pivotal moment. I was invited down there by the committee there, Association of Research Enlightenment in Virginia Beach, which I'd never been to, and it was a hard place to get to. I remember 2 or 3 planes I had to take. This is many years ago, probably close to 20 years, 17 years, I think. Kind of time's not good. And so I got there late, I think on a Friday or something, and the event I was doing a benefit for the ARE because I believed in Cayce, because that's the first person and by the way, let me go back and say, when I was living in Los Angeles and going to the bookstore, they had what they called ARE, Association of Research Enlightenment study groups. So I belonged to I formed a study group in Hollywood when I first moved there about the readings for Edgar Cayce. That's when I first started.
So you were really called towards him.
There was something resonated really strongly with me with him. I just felt this connection. So then I went down to Virginia Beach and I got to the Days Inn something motel. And one of those we open the door, it's mildew because of the beach is right there. Virgos, you don't care for that. So I slept outside. No, I didn't sleep outside. So the next day I did the event. We had over 500 people, and it was a small room, but capacity size. And throughout they were very nice people. But I was always thinking to myself, why didn't his grandson, I think his name is Cayce, come in and thank me? Because it was really just kind of to benefit the association. I was just thinking of that. Of course, it's much bigger than that. But it kind of upset me because, integrity and that sort of thing. So I went to bed that night. Sunday morning, I had to get up at 5 o'clock for the airport. So they're going to drive me to the airport, and you do 3 planes back. So I remember probably it was like, and I never sleep well before a trip. I just don't. But I think it was like 4:30ish, I guess, or 4:45. And I'm coming awake, and I'm aware of this being at the end of the bed, standing there at the end of the bed. And it was Edgar Cayce. I knew it was Edgar Cayce. He had long arms, and a white coat, doctor's coat, and he was carrying another coat. I'm like, "You're Edgar Cayce," and he said, "Yes." And he said, "I want to thank you." It was all telepathic.
Right.
"I want to thank you for coming down here and benefiting my association, Dr. Van Praagh." I said, "I'm not a doctor." He comes to the side of the bed and he hands me a coat. He goes, "Yes, you are. You've healed many hearts."
Oh my gosh.
He said, "By the way, you have
Wow.
arthritis in your left knee. Please refer to treatment number." And he gave me the number of the reading. And
Wow.
I gave it to the lady who was driving me to the airport. And a week later, sure enough, she sent me the remedy, and I got it, and I tried it. It was fine. It worked. And a couple of other Edgar Cayce, when I was down there also, well, before I left, when I was down there, right before I went on stage that Saturday, with my friend Jordy, and we're sitting in like a vestibule area, waiting to go on. And the lady who was taking care of us, she came over and she said, "Would you like to sit on the couch, like the couch, the trance couch?" I was like, "The couch?" She goes, "The couch." I said, "Yes, where is it?" She goes, "It's right here." And it was right in front of me. And it was just wooden, brown, dark wood, mahogany with a green cushion, probably about 2 inches thick. And she said, "You can lie down on it." Now, of course, I don't think they would let that. So she left the room, and I lay down on the couch, and my friend Jordy took a photograph. And you wouldn't believe this, but there's me lying there, and underneath me is all white light.
Wow.
All white light underneath it.
Wow.
Pretty amazing place.
That's
And, yeah,
amazing. What an
so
experience.
some experience. It really was some experience. And then that him with a coat, the jacket, that was amazing too. That was an incredible moment.
Did Edgar Cayce start working with you after that?
Yes. So it's many years. I was working at Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, and probably about, I'd say maybe 8 years after that. I really wasn't paying attention to what, who was coming in, what was going out. I was doing a week-long workshop at Omega, and at the end of it, there are some workshops where you go into an altered state or a light trance, I'd say. And it's really that they move me in such a way, the mind, that I have to do this for the people who are there, and just it kind of sums up the whole week, I guess. And so when you go into a trance state, we should do a show on trance, by the way.
Okay, I'll write it down.
And your mind is taken to a space. It's almost like you're in a different room. And the more vulnerable, the more open you are, the more you can receive. And I just put myself as an open, just open me up here. And I just, they came through me, and I've had Zulu warriors come through. I've had more people. I've had, angels, highly spiritual guides. I've had beings that do not have physical traits like we would know them. And remember, they were working on people's energy systems, energy centers, if you will. It's so different, like waves of energy. And I remember once there was talk about remedies, or talk about this can help you.
Mhm.
I said, and before, and I mentioned to the group, I'm not a doctor, so if something goes through, it's not just warning them, not warning them, but telling them what's going on. And I remember once it was definitely herbs, Edgar Cayce, and I was like, "Well, where Edgar Cayce, big man?" I said, "Is Edgar with you?" And it was like I was hearing it from a different room. And it was really interesting. All health stuff with Edgar Cayce came through, all of it. And I didn't know at the time it was Edgar Cayce until afterwards, when the people told me, it's like, "Oh, that's Edgar Cayce. That's exactly what that sounds like. Edgar Cayce."
Wow, and that's how Edgar Cayce started. I mean, he would be able to work with somebody as a psychic medium and giving them information, and it might be information that from such a high place that the person may not understand it. So then what he would do is he would work on them with the physical. He would start to give, then he would give physical. Well, it's your liver, it's your spleen.
Right.
And he was also one of the first to start saying, it's because you're angry at this. So isn't that interesting? He would go to the emotional place, the body, and then go to the spiritual, because he felt that it had to be mind, body, and soul, and it had to be everything. Is that what you were going to say?
Like, I'm
Oh
going
my God.
mind-body connection. He was the very
Yes.
first one. That the thoughts that you
Right.
have, he would often say the conditions of the mind the conditions of the mind, which is so important because that's where everything starts. And it ends up at the physical. The last place it ends up is the physical body. So the physical body is a representation of all your thoughts. And that's
Right.
really what we want to get across. And his readings are still great for people to go research. Dated a little bit, but you can get the essence for sure. You know, and amazing he grew up with a very Christian background too.
Well, in fact, it's such a Christian background that he said there were two things when he would do readings. He said there were two things that if it ever happened, I would stop, he said. The first one was if I ever harmed somebody. And the second thing is if it conflicted with his Christian background. And so then what happened is as he was talking about reincarnation, Edgar Cayce had to really come to some biblical place there because he read the Bible fully once a year. So he really had such a spiritual place with that, but he had to reconcile, but reincarnation seemed to be a big one for him. And then he overcame that and really understood reincarnation from a biblical place.
Well, I think he went to soul. It's because I think he went on to more. It's the soul experience.
Totally went to the soul experience.
Because in religion, he was indoctrinated into that mindset. But I think he went to a higher level of the overall soul.
That's exactly what happened.
About the oversoul quite a bit as well. It was great. The coding, the oversoul, that wisdom, that knowledge, higher self, if you will. Yeah.
Well, you know, I always do. He always would read auras, and one of the things that he said is before you get on. He talked about getting in an elevator. Always look to see if other people you can see their auras, because if their auras are there, then you're safe. So I took that a little further, and when I fly, I get on a plane and I go, let me see. Oh yeah, no, we're not going to go down. We're fine.
Oh, I've done it.
I've done this with you. Well, there.
and Robert and I did it in New York. We went. She came from London. I was doing a course in Omega. Went down, met her in New York City. We'd take a Delta flight out to LA, I think it was. And I stepped on the plane, literally. And she'll tell you this. She'll say, "Oh, you're crazy." Well, stepped on the plane. I said, "Oh, it's a sick plane. We're not getting out of here." And she said, "Just go to your seat." And 4 hours later, we were out there still and had to get off the plane. And she goes, "You're sick." I said, "Yeah." So we had to get our bags, and they didn't have our bags because the bags were still on the flight that's going to Minneapolis now. So we had nothing, and we had to go. And then there was a bomb scare. We went to it. We said, "Let's have a glass of wine." So I
remember that when that happened.
A glass of wine.
You guys called me.
We were both exhausted from work all week, going, "Oh, what's going next?" And it was really amazing. I think it was a bottle of wine. And I think it was, we were ready to go. And the waitress said, "Oh, sorry, you can't leave." There's a bomb scare. I was like, "What?"
That's terrible.
Yes, we stayed at a hotel. And the next day found a JetBlue flight and came back. And what it was, the bomb scare it was the Olympics. And it was a starter pistol that someone was watching television in the airport. And they said, they heard it said, "A bomb." And that's what happened.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. This is a good question. Hi, Renee Hounsel. Did Cayce work with the Akashic records as well?
I was just going to mention that. Before. Thanks for reminding me, honey. He did. He used to read the soul's history, and oftentimes there'd be certain conditions that soul would come to be treated for. And then Cayce him and his beings, if you will, because I think so is others as well, went to the Akashic records, if you will, a library of the soul. Could pull it out and look at it. I've seen Akashic records, actually. Yeah. And the whole of records. And they would say in this lifetime, these conditions are there because, and it could be some other lifetimes, a treatment that happened, a behavior that happens. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, it really is. One thing I just loved is when they would ask Edgar Cayce, "How do you become psychic?" He would always say the same thing: become more spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's very true. It's true.
Simple and correct.
Surrender,
right?
Surrendering to your highest self is really what it is.
And he also worked from 5 categories. So these were the 5 categories that Edgar Cayce worked with: health-related information,
okay,
philosophy and reincarnation, okay, dreams and dream interpretation. He was really into that.
Great books about his dream work. Great books.
Yes,
very much so.
And ESP and psychic phenomena.
I have all these books, yes.
And spiritual growth, meditation, and prayer, because that was everything for him, he said.
I'll have to buy a new book.
All right. I just found this one that I had, James. This was, I don't know if you have this one, but Edgar Cayce and the Old Testament.
Wow, I don't think I do.
I know.
That's a rare one.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah.
Stand by. I'm looking at your cases.
Are you going to go look for yours?
Right here.
Good for you. Well,
Some of them, but they're all over my house. So
when people would come to see him, he could talk to, he called them discarnate spirits. He could
Right.
talk to them, he could see them, he could hear them. He also could hear people's thoughts. So when you walked in a room, as he was awake, he could hear what was going on, and he would then just take it from there, whatever he needed to do at that time. Interesting.
talk about 100% surrender. Going into a trance state, altered state is 100%. Really 100% surrender. Many of my mental mediumship students, they say first you should do really a trance class and really release and let yourself go into that state of just receptivity and surrender and stillness. I still talk about sitting in the stillness of your being, because that's it.
And what he would do is he would tap into the universal consciousness. It was really quite phenomenal.
And why can't any of us do that? We all can do that.
Yes. Yeah.
We just don't take the time to do that. And sometimes it takes a physical problem we have to stop and do that. Many of my friends, I've had some friends, three or four of them, who had physical problems, like broke a leg or had a hip thing or that, and I kept on saying, you're going too fast, slow down, moderation. And it took that to happen for them to stop,
Yeah.
A lot of it. You gotta be careful.
For sure. Oh gosh. He has some great quotes too. So one of them I have to say is, there is so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us. It doesn't behoove any of us to speak evil of the rest of us.
That's great. Never heard that. That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Wow. I remember he was a tall man I remember thinking, God, his arms, he's lanky. So I remember his arms, his hands were down under his hips. It was like long arms. I remember that, and thin man. And he had
glasses. And the first time I ever saw him, and how I got just really, I don't know what's the right word, attached to him or to learning everything I could about him, was years and years and years ago, because I saw a picture of him. And the picture apparently was one a photographer took that he just loved, that favorite picture of him, that famous picture of him, though you probably have it. But he looked just like my grandfather.
Wow.
Exactly like him. And so when I looked at him, I thought, wow, do I know him? It's really interesting.
Wow.
Fascinating guy.
He says, the spirit is the life, the mind is the builder. It's a good one. I didn't tell you this. When I was 10 years old, I remember this pretty well. I think I was in my mother's house, and it was an afternoon around 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I was on a lunch break from school, I think. And she always had the television on. I remember there was something on about a biography, and I sat down and watched it because I was fascinated. It was Edgar Cayce story. And I remember it was black and white, and they're talking about they showing a lot of still photography. And I'm like, and I'm just remembering this today when I was thinking of Edgar. And it was about his life story. And I was fascinated. I was enthralled by this. And I was like sitting in front of the television like this. And I was lying down a kid.
And you were young when you were 10? Yeah.
Oh, yes. And I think I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a glass of milk on the carpet. And she's like, you can't do that. You got to sit, And I remember that. And it was Edgar Cayce's story. And I was fascinated by it. Remember that. Yeah.
Wow. So interesting. He says, Edgar Cayce says, individuals do not meet by chance. They are necessary in the experience of others, though they may not always use their opportunities in a spiritual way or manner.
It's very true.
That's a good one. And my favorite was, birth in the physical is death in the spiritual. Death in the physical is birth in the spiritual.
It's true. That's like that Native American saying that we talk about often. Yeah. In your world, you cry and everyone's happy. When you leave, everyone cries and you're happy.
Right. Now, you know what? Renee Hansel brings up a good point. She says there's quite a few similarities between Edgar Cayce and Swedenborg.
Very true.
Right?
Very much so. I wonder if you will. And there's a great one, Renee. I think you know about this. The young man who has beautiful eyes. He's like these gorgeous green blue eyes, and he talks a lot about Swedenborg. So if you go on YouTube, you can see him. You'll see his eyes, and he really knows so much about Swedenborg. And I have some of the books, but that's very, very similar. You're right. Very much the same mindset. Right. Good point.
Good point on that. Wow. Let's see. Jacqueline Shea, I wish he had advice for us during these troubled times, how to heal the world. I think he would say go inward and
I think
heal
it's heal
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah,
Heal
I
yourself
really.
first. That's the first place to go to is
So
yourself.
that's it. Because he would. That's exactly what he would say.
Why look outside yourself? All you have is
Right.
inside you. You know,
Right.
we talked about, I think I have a book on this, The Lost Continent of Mu. The Lost Continent of Mu was one he wrote about. Atlantis,
Oh,
quite a
he
bit
was
about
huge on Atlantis.
quite a bit about Atlantis. But The Lost Continent of Mu is an interesting one too. It's very psychic, very interesting book. Lost
Yeah.
Continent of Mu. So, you know, they republished, I mean, how many times? I mean, so many times they've republished his works.
Right.
And yeah, you can find that. You should definitely, people should go look him up and
Oh
read
gosh.
if they haven't.
Carlene Reese says, "Did Edgar Cayce believe in soulmates?" He did. He believed
Yes.
in soulmates, but he also believed that when you'd get together with a soulmate, you know, where you could use that for a really good purpose, or you may not use it at all. It's
Right.
interesting.
We believe we have choices, that we all
Hmm.
have choices to make. And the more you're in tune with your soul self,
Yeah.
the easier the choice would be, which I talk about all the time. I mean, that's exactly what it is. You talk about that. Whatever your resonant is truth within yourself, you'll be able to make the right choices. And
Yeah.
it's also good, like we say, going into your heart, not your head, being right in the heart, being real. You know, love is real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense.
It does. It does. I loved his dream work, James. He did so much on dreams and dream interpretation because he
Right.
felt that dreams were so healing and that you would do a lot of work in your dreams and you'd get a lot of answers in your dreams. And
That's when I first started doing dream work. When I read his book on dreams back in the 80s, when I used to go to the Bodhi Tree bookstore and I bought a book of the dreams and I was visualizing my dreams. I'd write it down before I go to sleep. Yeah, dream
right.
work, prophecy in the dreams, symbols in the dreams. Yeah, it's quite amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now he did a lot of prophecy things too, didn't he?
He did a lot of
Yeah.
prophecies, a lot of several books on it. And also, I don't know why I'm saying this to you, but you know, when we get together, things happen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he was in the soul group of Nostradamus. What do you think? I would
Yeah.
be surprised if they're in the same, you know.
It wouldn't surprise me either, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting that you would say that. Yeah.
I know, it's weird.
One of the things that he prophesied about was that these young children would be born, these young souls, old souls would be born as engineers and scientists, and that they would change the world in our right now as we're going into the space. And if you think about it, all of these interesting young kids that are doing things that none of us can probably even understand at a certain age, anyway.
Well, when he died in the 40s, so
Mhm.
really, I mean, I'm a child of the 60s as you are, and
Yeah.
with the technology in our lifetime alone, I mean,
Right. Right.
pay phone booths to cell phones. I mean, just the beginning of it, and there's so many things. It's crazy.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
here's a question for you, James, and not to change the subject, but James, this is from Bonnie. For the life coach certification program, do you have to be involved in the lives or can you watch the recordings? I do not have a camera on my computer, but I would like to take the course.
Oh, that's okay, Bonnie. So Wednesday's our first live call. So you can go on live calls. You don't have to show your face. You just check in. I'm, you know, you'd be seen or not. And no, it's just for you. It's for you to. I'm not going to steer you, and you can do it yourself. It's for you. But I do videos you watch. You know, to interact with them, and you can do as much as you want. I suggest, you know, go through the lessons 1, 2, 3, but then go back because you always get something else out of the lesson you've already done because you're in a different space. But no, it's very. I made it very safe and easy to, because I think it's good for you to do it quietly in your own space to take it all in, and you know, you'll get it. Your soul will know exactly what's right for you. But no, you don't have to interact if you don't want to, honey. Not that I want to see you, Bonnie, but you don't have to.
So
Thank you.
Beth Golomsky has a question. She says, "What is a trance state, and how is that different?" Good question, Beth.
Okay, so there are different levels of consciousness, as we know. There are different levels. Kelly, what are they?
Well,
Alpha,
there's
theta,
theta. Yeah.
alpha. They got a whole bunch of them,
Mhm.
and then within them, it's like, let's say that's a band, right? So within those one bands, there could be several layers, if you will, in that band, and then it next, and it's just the level of consciousness where your mind is, and it slows functioning down to the physical body, the brain work, the heart, everything slows down. The deeper the trance. It's interesting because mental mediumship is very different. In mental medium, you speed up the vibration of the body, you speed up yourself. But in trance state, you slow yourself down.
So you go into a theta state.
go to theta state.
Yeah.
And the deeper you can relax, the deeper you go. And many times in trance, there's all different types of trance, medium work, and different levels of consciousness or altered states, if we call it that. I call it altered states. That kind of covers everything, because we are in altered states most of the time during the day. We can be in altered states. You'll be driving your car and you're not sure. You just miss the exit. Where was I? You're in a different state of consciousness. You're not present, right? So many mediums, and I've seen them, healers, trans medium healers in Brazil, some incredible people, where they pull stuff out of the body, and it's like, I've witnessed this whole thing. I've seen this all. And so it's different levels of awareness, if you will, but it's a deep trance state, nothing like it. Gordon Higginson, people should check out on YouTube. He was probably one of the best trance mediums, but that well known, if you will. And you can watch him on YouTube. He does this amazing thing. I think he couldn't walk, and he went into a deep trance state. They have it on video, and he gets up and starts dancing around the room.
Gordon Higginson?
Yes.
That's amazing.
He goes back into the chair. They bring him out of it, and he couldn't walk again, just like Cayce. How weird, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. Well, Jeanette Calderon says, who is similar to Edgar Cayce today? Anyone? I would say you, James. I would say definitely you.
Well, except for the remedies, but yeah,
Well, but I've seen you go in when you do work. I've seen you do in all kinds of where you'll go up to somebody and you'll go check the body out, and you'll know, okay, it's this area, there's this area. Yeah. You really go into almost medical mediumship. But I've seen you do it. Yeah.
I actually have done that before. Actually, I didn't know what to call it, but that's what I do. They would do it through me, and I'm aware. And again, little altered state of consciousness, not sure of where you are, but I'd be aware of the colors around people. I still am around, he can read thoughts. People, right. I see colors all the time. A person who comes, I don't know, 20 feet from me, I can see everything. I know everything. Right. And it's, I'm not scared by it. It's just almost like validation. Oh, I knew this. I know this energy. It's like, I know this energy. I'm aware of what this energy is like. And I can see it in houses. I can see it in people. I can see it in job places. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I've been with you where you can check the room out immediately. Like, no, Kellee, we're not going in here. Or, yeah, we're going to go here.
Or if it's a demonstration, what I'll do, I'm doing a demonstration of peak skill in New York in April, by the way, everybody who's ever over there. Right. My first demonstration in 3 years in the physical theater. It's going to be interesting.
Wow.
So I've gone to visit those places. Like say the evening of the demonstrations at 7 o'clock. I'll go there, maybe get the hotel around 3, and I'll lay down, meditate, and visit that space. Astrally visit it, and see what's going on there. And on the left-hand side, there'll be a problem over here. This will be easy over here. There's a problem on the stage, and this. Yeah, I've done that many, many times.
Wow. And it must help you set the energy.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm setting the energy. Setting the energy. I can't be there physically, and I have been there physically. I will go to space if I can physically beforehand and set the space. Because listen, I've had moments where the night before there was a blood wrestling thing, a blood boxing thing. I'm like, look, and there's blood in the. So I've seen it all. And
you really have. Oh my gosh!
I mean, that was a moment. I said, what's the blood? And they said, oh, it was a cage fight last night, boxing. Okay.
What? I'm afraid to ask where that was, but I will.
Phoenix. And it was theater in the round. So it was theater in the round.
And that must have been some round.
Well, I ran out on the stage and I started dancing a little bit, and then the theater moved. They didn't tell me the stage moves. So the stage moves. The stage moving. You're like, what the heck?
You're a good sport.
And I look up, there's a big jumbotron chain TV right there. I'm like, is that my butt? And then I just fell down.
So Carlene Reese asks, can you explain what a soul group is?
Go right ahead, Kellee. You go.
All right. Well, it's a group where we all come together. A lot of our souls have a lot in common. We want to work together. James and I are in a soul group. We come in to help other people. Whatever that soul group looks like. It could be your family. It could be your friends. But it's a group of people that have the same, I believe James has the same idea to do the similar thing.
Same thing. Yeah, exactly. So it's that, to me, it's the same, exactly that souls that come together who've been through many of the same lifetimes or similar lifetimes, lots of similar experiences, and band together. Sometimes I heard it expressed that, you want to go take a class? All right, let's go do this again. So we'll do it again. And
Right.
sometimes we take on like family and friends. In this lifetime, I have to learn what it's like to be a mother who loses a son, or I got to be an alcoholic father, or whatever. I might have to, whatever it might be, addiction problems, or it might be emotional problems, or mental, whatever it needed. And there'll be those souls who assist in that, or you're helping them too by doing that. So it works kind of in tandem.
Right. Right.
It's just a connection. It's a you come together. It's together. It's a family. It's a group.
It's a group. Yeah. Yeah. So PDS, did Edgar Cayce talk about Lemuria? I don't know. He may have.
I think yes, and
I know Atlantis for sure.
the lost continent of Mu. That's exactly what that
Okay,
is.
that's it. You're right. That's it.
Lemuria. Now, Lemuria, very interesting enough, I used to do cruises, and I did one in Tahiti, and my favorite place was Moorea.
I know.
So in French, Lemuria.
I remember going to
You were there
Korea with
Kellee?
you, and
Remember
that
that?
was an unbelievable experience. It's
Talk about
unbelievable.
energy, the balance,
Oh,
it's balance.
and I
space.
think that was my favorite Tahitian island too.
I
Yeah.
definitely relate to that. It was so peaceful and tranquil.
Oh my God. It
Nothing like the
sure-
other islands. There were nothing like that. That was like a time of our life because we had a small ship. Remember, 200 people, and he took over this whole ship and just did workshops on it. It was just
It was really a special time. Yeah. I mean, I'm praying that we have other times like that too.
we will, Kellee.
We
We
will. We will.
love Kellee, the Rose Court. Thank you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thanks,
Everybody
honey.
downstairs love.
Oh,
Judy Friedman. You were there. That's right.
excellent. So I'm not sure. Stargazer says, what did he say about Atlantis and Lemuria? Do you know?
Well, at one point, I forget something about Lemuria, but civilizations, past civilizations, and what they had to deal with as far as what would destroy them, and what did destroy them. He talked about that with Atlantis and artists and industrials and inventions, and I think one of them was greed, a lot of greed, ego.
Mhm.
Ego got in the way, so we got to watch from that. We got to learn from those things.
Right, right. Desiree asked, is there a promo code for spiritual life coach certification?
No, just go for it. I've lowered I can't go any more discount wise because I have to pay people to put it up there on the website. Now it's pretty low. It's a discount already. So no, you're fine. But Wednesday, it's the first live call.
And that's tomorrow. Oh no, Wednesday. No, in 2 days, Wednesday.
Right.
On that full moon.
Full moon in
Okay.
Leo. Hello, 4 planets in Leo. Just saying.
Oh, Leo rising. I hear you. BB says, what does alcoholism have to do with spirituality?
What about alcoholism or addiction? Can we just open up to say addiction, perhaps, maybe?
Yeah.
It's a good question. My mother was an alcoholic, and a little boy used to scream and holler and just say, "Why did you, die? Why don't you?" And I learned later on, of course, now I realize it was a gift for me because I learned now. I took back and said, "Wow!" I learned about compassion. I learned about patience. I learned about forgiveness. I've learned how substance abuse can destroy. I've learned, so many things. She's very.
You know what's interesting, James? I learned from that. My father was hugely addicted to drugs and alcohol, and what I learned is I can see it with somebody else pretty quickly, and I've been able to help people around the issue, not with the addiction person. That's never been my thing, but with having compassion for the family and everybody who's gone through it. That's been the greatest gift I got.
I'm going to paraphrase here from Edgar Cayce's readings about addiction, and I believe if you go Edgar Cayce addiction, something about the makeup of the physical, but also the mental process. Because the mental processes.
Okay.
I think it also ties into self-worth. And he was really one of the first science of mind kind of philosophers, if you will, as well, for Ernest Holmes even. So yeah, and this is I've heard this from many people, many beings and living people that passed over, that the physical earth, the 3D dimensional earth world, earth school, is a school of addictions. It's a place you come back and get rid of those patterns, if you will, that we repeat over, whether it's in the family history or your personal history, to burn it out, if you will, to go through it, to learn so much you can about yourself and about other people and how they deal with it, if you will.
Right. Wow.
Yeah,
So
compassion. Yeah.
Compassion. Danielle Carpenter says, what was your biggest lesson from Edgar that you still use today as part of your life work?
Are you asking me? Or
she's asking. What would you say?
Spiritual.
I was going to say the same thing.
Spiritual. Putting your mind in spiritual. Like reach up and expand and just keep on going the highest you can. Spiritual, being spiritual. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Got me on my path. I'm in Sean McLean. Got me right on there.
That's true, right?
It's very true. And I was able to thank Shirley in person and then bought her condo, which I lost money on. Don't ask. It was a moment. I don't know. I had the best sleep I could possibly have at her house in Santa Fe. And it was the best sleep. And I was like, this is so beautiful and quiet. She was selling this condo. And it's like, okay, maybe I'll get it.
What made that the best sleep?
I don't know. Because I never had a sleep like that ever again.
And that was in Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, yeah.
Do you think it was the energy? Do you think
the land? I think it was the energy of the land for sure. I really do. It was very clean, very pure. I remember that, and it was election night, by the way. This was election night, and I think it was George Bush the first. I think was, and I told her George is going to win. She goes, no. I said, yeah, he's going to win. She goes, no, my Bible codes. She goes, let me get on the phone with whoever the Democrat was.
Right.
And yeah, it was funny. And I said, well, so I just what I'm telling you what I feel.
Oh my God.
We get great friends after that. But yeah, Casey and Shirley got me on my path. No doubt about it.
She really did. Can you do scanning on yourself, James? This is Louise Breyer asked the question.
I could, but I can't. So because it's like me doing a reading for myself.
Yeah.
I can't be objective. And my mind would get in the way, being the Virgo. So I couldn't do. Wouldn't it be a disservice to myself? Because am I thinking about this? I couldn't tell the difference. Just like reading. Can you read yourself, Kelly?
No.
But
no.
You can read a family member. Or,
oh yeah. I choose not to.
So boundary work.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're not going to listen to me anyway.
Workshop boundary work. It is so important. Boundaries. It really is.
My gosh.
It's spiritual and be aware. I think in one of the readings from Cayce, he talked about he didn't use the word boundaries. I think it's surroundings. I think was surroundings that bring you up, bring the energy, bring you up a higher level of whatever the wording he used for it, but it's bringing up the frequency. Surrounding yourself with these types of individuals and these spaces that you go to has to be the highest mind.
Right. Jessica Shears says, hi, James and Kelly. I watched you both a while back and the discussion was on auras. Have you released a course on it yet, James? Watching from Australia. Much love.
Thank you for that idea. I haven't, but I will now. Thank you. I was actually talking to the website people today because I was going to do a course which it's based on Florence Shin's book, The Game of Life, which I was going to do it. But when I started getting down there deep, and I go deep dive, I get fully in there because what's the point of doing it if you don't do it the right way and all the way? So it was way too complex and so much information and material that I don't have the time to give what it deserves. So I'm looking for another course. We're talking about today. So I think the Aura course might be right there. We are going to do another animal course this year too.
Oh, great. Super. Yeah, people love that.
We're looking at with Maisie. Yeah. Samantha's incredible. So yeah, we'll do another animal course and work on the Aura course. Thank you for that suggestion. That remembrance.
It says, Jason Light says, it's been suggested that David Wilcox, the author, is the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce.
Yes, I think that's a bunch of BS.
Yeah, me too.
He'd like to be, David would like to be, and that's taking nothing away from David, but I find he talks a lot about Cayce.
Yeah.
So you see, I'm like an aficionado. It's with everybody. You take it with a grain of sand. I will say whatever resonates with your soul is truth. And when you read someone's book or you see them on television or you hear about them, if it feels right for you, it's meant for you. If it's not, go away, turn off.
Yeah. Jan Reynolds Keller, can you see what really happened to Bob Saget?
I knew Bob.
I knew Bob too. Yeah, we both did. Apparently he looks like he had a really bad brain trauma. Yeah. And I'll tell you the thing about brain traumas, James.
It was a bathtub, Kelly.
You think it was a bathtub?
I think he was taking a shower at a hotel.
I said that to myself this morning. I bet he fell in the back and hit the back of his head. Yeah. I actually thought that this morning.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing about that is that with head injuries, for some reason, and I know I had my own experience with it. I know you almost don't take it seriously enough. You don't think, oh, I think I'm going to die in 17 hours. Instead, you kind of think, I'll be fine, or I'll wake up in the morning and I'll deal with it. And that's just not the case with a head injury. If you hit your head, you really have to go and have it checked out immediately, because there are some injuries. My head injury was so bad that most people died within 17 hours, I was told.
Yeah, you were pretty
incredible. And I think that's what happened to Bob Saget.
Yeah.
It just happened that fast. And I think he was in denial, because that's what happens when you hit your head. Some people just go into denial.
Yeah.
It's hard to fathom when you hit your head. You think, it's just my head.
Well,
It's a big
because
deal.
the body will send pain, as a code, as a
Mhm.
signal. And if you don't have the pain, you don't think anything's wrong. And I mean, I've
Yeah.
done that gardening where like 2 days later, black and blue, my leg, like what happened to my? Oh, I hit a
Right.
rock or something. So,
Right. Well,
no,
you're right, because when I had my head injury, I didn't bleed out. There was
right.
no blood that came out.
Right.
It was all inside. So they're very serious.
It's true.
Very serious.
I think
Uh,
I think he slipped in the shower bathroom. Yes, hit his head on the mobile sink.
mm,
Everything is marble in the Ritz bathroom. Yeah, I think from my experience with him, I know your experience is with Bob, but I did politically incorrect with him a couple of times, and I did
yeah.
a couple other shows. And in the green room, we were together, and when I look back so long ago, he was really always nice, always a gentleman.
Very nice. What I was always amazed every time I saw him is how tall he was.
Well. Look at me. I mean, I was like, huh?
Me too. But he was like six
James,
foot
how you
five or
doing?
something. It was huge. It was
Yeah,
just
he
a
was
nice man.
a kind man. He was a kind man, not outrageous, just kind, down to earth guy.
Yeah.
You
Audrey
didn't
says
forget where he came from.
it's what yeah, that's so true. That is so
You
true.
didn't forget where he came from. Mhm.
Gloria Rhodes, how does a person know if their calling or purposes are for reading or if they're born as a medium? Well, it depends. I mean, sometimes I think you're meaning as a psychic or as a medium. I mean, all mediums are psychic, and not all psychics are mediums.
Very, very true. That's the only answer I'm going to give out is that what Edgar Cayce said was spirituality. So what I suggest to a lot of people in my school and everyday people, first of all, sit in the quiet, get to know your soul. It's soul
Yeah.
work you're talking about. It's not head work. It's soul work. So how can you do soul work if you don't know what your soul is or who you are, right?
Right.
Otherwise, you're thinking about it, which you can't do when you're doing these types of readings or healings. So you first have to have that relationship with your soul self, and that comes with a lot of Case would call it contemplation. He would call it contemplation. So meditation, contemplation. He would say sit in contemplation, which is meditation, whatever word you want to use. But it really would be sitting in that quiet, the stillness. Because when you do quiet the mind, you really begin to open up, and it's like
Yeah.
it really is like the layers of an onion. Just every time you sit, I used to sit 20 minutes a day for like a week
Right.
when I was first developing, and I do it now. I'll sit down in quiet myself in a closet and confined, can't hear any noises, and just all you're doing is sitting with yourself. You become aware of the soul, the layers, the energy around you. It's incredible, and that's how you know what's right for you.
Right.
It's the only
And
way.
that's the only way. And this is
No psychic can tell you. You got to do it yourself.
exactly. And this week is the perfect time to do that inward work, to go in and really start to feel yourself. What are you about? What is going on inside of you? This is such a good
You said that life coach that's on right now, and that Wednesday's the first call. You said this was a perfect time.
perfect time
Before
for
we get on.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's really the perfect time for that. If you want to take this class, this is an amazing time. If you're drawn to this, it would be a great class because it does help you in all areas of your life.
Here's a good question from Samuel Thomas. I would love to know, is there a difference between oracle and a channel medium? There doesn't seem to be much clarity from my research. I would love to hear your thoughts. Okay. There we go. Number one, we got to be careful not to get caught up with labels, right? Get caught up with labels. So it's all intuitive. We can say it that way. So a medium is channeling energy, and it's almost like a piano keyboard. What notes are you playing? So you can play the lower notes, or you can play the higher notes. So that's medium, the channel. You're channeling. You're bringing through energy. So an oracle to me would be someone who can use that psychic intuitive information and choose to bring through universal truths, things that might happen in the future of the three-dimensional world, or talk about the past. So that could be that as well. Does that describe it more?
It does. It's perfect. And don't forget this Friday you're doing an evening of psychic readings.
You're right. Thanks for reminding. Kelly reminded me that before, and I was like, "Am I? I forgot."
I know you're busy this Friday.
Psychic readings for people, and it'll be a fast. Last time I did about 25, 30. It was like,
Wow.
and it's funny because I say to people, it's just it's for everyone that joins a group. It's not just for one person. One person will get answered, but usually the spirit world work with the general in terms that everybody can apply it to their own life in some way. And you've seen me do it before.
Oh, for sure.
And they couch it that way, so everyone can relate to it who goes to that space. It's interesting
Right.
how the spirit world holds a space for the two different nights, the mediumship and the psychics. It's a different set of guides who work with me for the psychic readings. Very different set of guides that work with me with the mediumship. So it's really interesting.
And when you do the psychic, you would need to hear the person's voice.
I want to hear the voice that helps me tune right in. And sometimes I have a piece of paper that a pad, I'll just tune into it centers me, grounds me, and get right very fast. So quick. And a lot of times the humans can't keep up with it.
But it's great. I've seen you do it. It's so much fun. Such a great night. And people really get a lot of information.
Yeah, they do. So it's February. Yes, it's Friday. So please join me.
So what a week to do this, James. You're going to have a busy week.
Valentine's Day today. I mean, we're starting
Valentine's Day. It's unbelievable. Get ready for that full moon on Wednesday and for Venus and Mars to take off. So it's quite a week. Moonbeams. That's it. And thank you, James. And thank you, Edgar Cayce.
Thanks, Edgar. Appreciate it. Thanks, Renee.
Thanks, Renee. See you next week, everybody.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
The James and Kellee Show.